This might be probably the weirdest country in Europe, but still, you should visit it because it's just beautiful. Hello Internet, welcome to Lex Universe. Well, this is the conclusion of my trip to Bosnia. If you want to see more on-the-spot shots from the country, go watch the videos up in the right corner. In this video, I will conclude the journey with some travel tips and basically just the overall travel guide of everything that you should know if you want to travel to this country. Before we begin, let me welcome all of the new subscribers. Thank you for your support. It means a lot. If you haven't subscribed, well, many of you haven't still, so please just click on the subscribe button. It will help me a lot. But, well, let's talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina. Well, as you may see from the name of the country, it is kind of shady. What does it mean? Well, Bosnia and Herzegovina is actually a federal state. It's a federation. You may think that it does consist of two parts, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Well, not actually, because one part of the federation is called the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's where most of the Croats and Bosniaks live. And then you have the Republika Srpska, which is majorly populated by Serbians. The center of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina is basically the capital of Sarajevo, and well, if you want to head out to the Republika Srpska, then you should go to Banja Luka, which is like this de facto capital. Then also there is the Brčko district, which is administrated by both of these federal entities. Now, Bosnia and Herzegovina is located in Europe, in southeastern Europe, in the Balkans. It borders Croatia to the north and to the west, then Serbia to the east and Montenegro to the south. It has a very short shoreline around the town of Neum, where you can basically see some beaches, if that's your thing. Not many people go to Bosnia and Herzegovina to have summer vacations, but you can do it. There are a few kilometers of shoreline, but it really basically looks like Croatia just gave them this out of pity to have at least something. Well, some more basic info about the country. Well, their official languages are Bosnian, Serbian and Croatian. These three languages are basically the same. During the times of Yugoslavia, these three languages were basically three parts of one Serbo-Croatian language. This is no longer the case, but really, if you learn one of these languages, you understand all of the others. The differences are really minimal. But it's kind of funny that sometimes you really see the signposts in all three languages saying basically the same thing. Well, if you speak any Slavic languages, this will definitely be a help, because English is not really widespread, especially outside of Sarajevo, and maybe like the tourist area around Mostar. But generally, if you speak any Slavic language, you will be just fine. It's really easy to understand, and people are actually quite easy to talk to. The currency of Bosnia is the convertible mark, which really surprised me, because well, that's not just the currency that you would picture in the Balkans. It's pegged with euro in exchange rate of about €1 for 2 marks. Majority of the places, especially in the main cities, do accept cards, but if you're traveling somewhere to the countryside, and that includes even some tourist places like the Kravica waterfalls and others, get some cash. Not all ATMs take foreign credit cards, so you may be searching a little bit, but it only took me some 4 attempts before I was able to get some cash, so that's kind of easy. If you're traveling to Bosnia, you will want to have a SIM card, because, well, then you will be able to connect to the internet and also, well, to be accessible by others. So you can buy this directly at the airports. I did have a SIM card of the company MTEL, which is located in the Republika Srpska and in Banja Luka. So that was kind of a case, but it did have the coverage all across the Bosnia and Herzegovina, so you can go with it. Basically any other operator will be fine. Now they use the European C and F plug outlets and they drive on the right side of the road, if there are any sides. I mean, you'll be traveling a lot in the mountains, because if you take a look at the topographic map of Bosnia, you will see there are a lot of mountains, and basically traveling across the country, if you choose the car, it will be kind of lengthy and you will be crossing a lot of mountain passes, so be prepared for that. I will talk about driving a little bit later, just keep that in mind. Before you can drive around the country, you will have to get in. Well, you have several options. First of all, I will get the ferries really out of the way really quickly. You can get a ferry from all the places around the Adriatic Sea to Neom. Not many people do it. It's not really best accessible, and like it's really located quite far from everything else in Bosnia. So I believe your best bet is to fly in the country. There are two major international airports in Sarajevo and Tuzla. There is also a small airport in Banja Luka, which I personally used, and it's really small. There are like 2 flights a day, but many of the low-cost carriers in Europe, well, many of them, like both of them, like Ryanair or Wizz Air, have some flights from Central Europe and basically from around Europe to Banja Luka, and there are also some seasonal charter flights to Mostar. Or you can drive into the country or use a bus. Well, both of them are traveling on the road. You can get to Bosnia and Herzegovina from all surrounding countries. Not much to say here, just have to cross the country borders, staying on the road. There are some bus connections with all the neighboring countries. There are many bus connections from Croatia, from Zagreb, Pula, Rijeka, Split and Dubrovnik, and also there are direct connections from Serbia, from Belgrade, and from Montenegro. There are also some long distance buses from Austria, Hungary, and even as far as Czech Republic and Germany. If you want to travel by bus into the country, there are several companies like Central Lines or Loop Tour. It used to be possible to get into the country by train, but well, this is no longer the case, so good luck there. You can also walk. There are several border crossings that are accessible for pedestrians, but well, I guess that's one of the least favorite ways how to cross the border, so well, do what you want. Now, once you're in the country, you'll have to get around. Now, the most convenient way is to rent a car, but in this case, let me tell you a few tips. First of all, you will either drive there from your own country or you will have to rent a car. If you're renting the car, keep in mind that in most cases the insurance is not included in the price, or well, it is, but it doesn't really cover that much, so well, drive carefully, which is kind of difficult because, well, we're talking about the Balkans, and driving in the Balkans is, well, chaotic at least. So prepare some of your nerves. It can get a little bit fuzzy. Also, if you're traveling longer distances, like for example, if you're going from Banja Luka to Mostar or from Mostar to Sarajevo, especially from Mostar to Sarajevo, that's really interesting trip. You will be traveling through very steep mountain passes where there is no cellular signal. It will be quite even difficult to meet other cars because the streets are quite narrow. At some cases they're not even paved, so well, prepare for that. Get some offline maps. Don't drive on the landmines, that's a good advice, isn't it? Well, speaking of landmines, one of the saddest things about Bosnia and Herzegovina, there was a war in the 90s, and ever since then, many of the landmines were destroyed, were removed, but still over 1,000 of them still remain somewhere in the country. Usually this is marked, but generally the rule of thumb is don't leave the paved roads or just any roads. If you see that there is a route and somebody probably walked on it, then the chances are there is no landmine. But every year there are some landmine related incidents in Bosnia, so keep in mind, don't really walk off. Well, your another possibility how to get around, and that's probably the most favorite one, is by bus. This is the most reliable and the quickest way around, well, apart from the cars. You can find the timetables, or you can search for the connections in this web page. I will also leave you the links in the description down below, so go check it out. It can help you a lot. But just keep in mind, it really doesn't look that Bosnia is so big. But consider that, for example, the bus route from Banja Luka to Sarajevo, which is really not that far, it takes some 5 hours. So if you want to travel, for example, from Banja Luka to Mostar, it's almost not doable within 1 day. And that's kind of surprising because it's really like some 400 kilometers, not that far away. You can also travel by trains, but the trains in the Balkans are, I don't want to be a jerk, but they're really slow, they're not very reliable, not very comfortable. So, well, it may be an interesting experience for sure, but if you want to get somewhere and don't spend several days doing that, avoid the trains. But still, if you want to travel by train, then here you can see the webpage where you can find your connections. Now let's finish with some other tips, like what can you drink there, what can you eat there. One of the most favorite meals in Bosnia that you can find in almost every restaurant are the cevapi. In many countries this is called kish kebab. It's basically the same. They usually eat it with potatoes, and well, if you come to some out there restaurant where nobody speaks English, well, cevapi, pivo, that's two things that you can learn. Speaking of pivo, beer, there are many brands of beer in Bosnia and Herzegovina. You know, like I said, it's really divided between these federal districts. So in Republika Srpska you will find many Serbian brands like Jelen, while in the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina you will find many of Croatian beers like Arlovačko, but there are also some beers that are brewed directly in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that's, for example, Sarajevsko or Nektar. Generally, you can drink tap water if you want. That's not so bad, and while in the nature, it's generally safe to drink water from the mountain streams and so on if you're somewhere in the mountains. When I continue with alcohol, one of the most favorite Balkanian spirits is rakia. You can find basically almost everywhere. Just keep in mind that Bosnia and Herzegovina is actually partially Muslim country, so well, almost everybody drinks there. There are some movements, especially in south of the country, that are moving towards limiting the sale of alcohol. So in some parts of Sarajevo, you will not find actually alcoholic drinks in many restaurants. So I don't know, search beforehand, can be interesting. Also, the beer is not usually on the tap, so you will have to be okay with bottled beer. Also, Bosnian wine is quite famous, I would say. So if you are a wine person, go for it. Although I had some wine from around Mostar, and man, it was really disgusting. Like the worst wine I've ever tasted. So I don't think I'm gonna be drinking Bosnian wine anytime soon. Well, that's the most basic info I can give you about Bosnia and Herzegovina. Have you ever been to this country? Let me know what you think. And if you haven't, tell me how helpful this guide was. If you have any more questions, any more tips, you can write them down in the comments down below. I will try to get to you as soon as possible. And I hope you enjoyed my whole trip. Again, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I really enjoy my stay in this country and I cannot wait to visit some more. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel. You may consider becoming a member of this channel. That will help me a lot and it doesn't have to cost you that much. And you will get some extra perks for your support. And I will be looking for you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.